This is the Expired Podcast by Macy Bookout and Natalie Gard. Like, follow, share, subscribe. New episodes out every Monday.
This is the story of Jonna Berry. She lived in Knoxville, all around Tennessee. We're going to go over her family life growing up, the kind of person she was. She was currently getting ready to graduate from college with another degree and planning a wedding at the time. She was working 2 jobs. We're going to go over the night all of this happened, the suspects and the questioning. It took years for them to find out exactly who did it. There was a sketch done by police from the surviving victim. Then we're going to go over the person who actually did it and their whole posse and what we think happened with that. And then we're going to go over Jonna's Law and their foundation.
Yeah. So, first thing I want to say is this girl was smart.
I know. So smart. She had degrees in education and criminology and psychology.
Yeah.
She actually graduated
she graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees in 3.5 years. She was 21 and had 2 bachelor's degrees already.
She was one of the youngest people to ever get
accepted
into a law school.
Thomas Cooley Law School in Michigan.
Which
was crazy too.
I know. But she didn't like it. Her boyfriend at the time, Jason, they were going to go and kind of pursue law together and go to school together as they planned their wedding. She just hated law. She wanted to be more active.
Yeah, she was very bored. She didn't, in law school you have to read a lot of different cases and read about the law and how the law can be used or shifted. It's a lot of reading. And I think there just wasn't enough hands-on action, movement. She just got bored. So she decided her and her boyfriend at this point are living in Michigan together, going to the law school. They're super good relationship, very much in love, had been together since they both started college, before law school. So she leaves law school, comes back to Tennessee, moves to Knoxville to go to enroll at UTK for her, the graduate program, basically, and ends up moving into an apartment with a friend that was her best friend's boyfriend and a friend of hers and her boyfriend Jason in Michigan.
They went to school together at ETSU.
Yeah. And he had a spare room, so for a little while was gonna move in there so she could save money to get her own place.
She had 2 jobs at the time. She was working at a child center, learning more about that. I think it was at a hospital or a school.
And child study center.
Yeah,
I think
she was working with teenagers and young kids, but she also had a part-time job at Zales. This is at the West Town Mall. It's 5 minutes from where she was staying at the Brendan Park Apartments with her roommate Jason. So this is a little confusing. Her boyfriend's name is Jason White. We'll refer to him as boyfriend or fiance.
Fiance, yeah.
And then the other guy, Jason Amame, he's the roommate. So we might refer to him as Jason the roommate.
Yeah. Because it does get a little, especially in the beginning, it might get a little confusing. But
So Jonna Berry, she was born in Bristol, Tennessee, home of NASCAR and country music. She was born August 26, 1983, and she has 2 older brothers, Kelly and Tim Burke. Her dad is actually her stepdad, and she took his name when Joan and Michael, her parents, met.
Yep.
So that's why she has the last name Berry, and her brothers have the last name Burke.
Yep.
She went to ETSU. She met her boyfriend Jason in 2001 when they started college. They dated for 4 years, and he actually asked her to marry him several times.
Multiple times.
I know.
I think it was a fun-loving, I think she was using this as her chance to play hard to get, but really they just knew they were going to end up together. So it was just a fun game, and she would purposely take the ring off and like put it somewhere like with his belongings, and so then he would just ask her again. I just think that's so cute.
I know.
I think it's so cute.
And she actually told him, like, you should propose to me again.
Yeah,
like,
you should do that.
She was like saying, I'll say yes this time if you do it again.
Yes.
Like, I thought that was so cute. And they talked on the phone, like, until she would fall asleep. Like, just so cute.
Yeah. No, they were definitely...
lovebirds.
They were good. They had a good partnership. You know, like, it was very... I feel like they just supported each other really well, and it was just healthy. But kind of mature. Yeah. For that age.
For that age, yeah.
I feel like maybe both of them have, like, old souls.
Yeah.
Because it was a mature relationship for all the things they were doing and experiencing. That would be... Me and Taylor did long distance for 2 years, and it's hard. Yeah. You really have to be, like...
committed to staying in
and
contact
mature and, like, all the things. So... I get it. Yeah. I get it, for sure.
So they got engaged in 2004. This is when she decided, okay, I hate law school. I need to drop out of this and go back to Tennessee. I'll enroll UT Knoxville, and I'll just get my graduate program done there because it is closer to home. Her brothers lived in Knoxville. At the time she was moving, her parents were actually moving to Atlanta. They were moving to Georgia from Bristol. So they were all kind of close in the southeast. So,
when she moves back to Knoxville, like we said, she moved in with a friend of their whole group, really, from when they all went to school at ETSU in Johnson City. She moves into like a spare bedroom that he has, and this is Jason, the roommate. I think she lived there for a few months. Normal situation, going to school or working and enrolling in the program, all the things. And then at the time that this all happens in December, she is also working at Zales, and it's like holiday season, so she's, you know, trying to save money, not only for school and an apartment, but also for Christmas gifts and all the things. So on the day that this happened, she had been working at the Zales store at the mall.
And I love this that they said that it was employee policy to, when you close the store, you all walk out together.
Yes.
Safely, see each other, to each other's cars or whatever.
Yes.
And she really wanted to go out that night. She was like, let's go do something fun.
Yeah.
But it was raining and cold. And
I think everybody else was just like, oh, we've been working all day, and it's just not, the weather's not looking like much fun. So ultimately she was like, you know what, I'll just go pick up a few last minute like gifts, or, you know, go see if I can find some Christmas gifts and then wrap them, and all as well.
Yeah, she called her mom while she was on her way to Walgreens to pick up some, you know, toys and little gifts she was going to take to her job at the teen center, or the children's development center. So she talks to her mom, she gets her gifts, she goes home. Around 10:30, her roommate Jason comes home from his job and sees her wrapping the presents she had just bought. Normal, everything's cool. She's getting tired. By 10:30, she's, you know, getting ready to go to bed, so she calls Jason, her fiance.
And they did this like every night.
Every night.
Every night before bed, they would just be on the phone basically until it was like they could not hold their eyes open anymore.
I love that. I remember
Taylor and I did that.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww,
it was crazy because we would have to get up so early for like school and work and stuff, and it was like we would literally, sometimes I would just like fall asleep and then like wake up and my phone would still be like right there, and I'm like, crap, I didn't charge my phone. But no, that to me, like, that's when you have to do long distance, you get to know people really well because you can actually, you just talk, and it's a lot less about the drama or like physical stuff. So they did this every night. It wasn't weird for her to be on the phone for a long time or late at night with him.
Right. So Jason, the roommate, you know, says, good night, Jonna. You know, tell Jason I said hi, whatever. I'm going to stay up and watch TV for a little while. And then around 12:30, he decides I'll go watch TV in my room and fall asleep. It's time for bed.
Yep.
So it's all quiet from about 12:30 to 4 a.m. And this is when...
Which is now December 6th.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
December 6th. So it's all quiet until 4 a.m. when Jason, the roommate, is awoken by what he thinks is Jonna having a nightmare, screaming, whatever. He gets out of his bed and opens the door to see what's going on, and he sees a person standing there.
Yeah, he mentioned in questioning, he said he woke up because of the screaming. He thought that it was Jonna just having like a nightmare, and he was gonna go like wake her up and be like, hey, you're dreaming, whatever, and go back to bed. So when he walks out of his room, he sees someone leaving her room, which he described as like a silhouette of a man.
Right. He saw him, and immediately this person pushes him back into his room. He fell on his bed, and this is where the violence against Jason Amame starts.
Yep.
He's stabbed. He has like a cut to his face, a huge laceration on his hand.
On his finger or something.
Yep. He had a stab wound that punctured a lung. He was messed up.
Truth be told, even his face, like, it was one of those when you see him in questioning, like his whole, you can't even recognize him because his face is really swollen.
So he is in this struggle. He doesn't know like what went on with Jonna, if she's still there, if she ran, if what's happening. So he is fighting with this guy, and he sees his chance to run. It's fight or flight.
Yep.
You know, he had done the fight, now it's time to go. So
Yep.
he runs out the front door of this apartment. So there's a front door and a back door with stairs that lead down to, you know,
the exit.
The exit.
Yeah.
And so he runs out the front door, and he runs. There's an apartment nearby. He runs to an apartment and tries to get help. This is 2004. Like, no one's going to open the door. No one has, like, cell phones super handy.
And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night. So he ran for half mile to a gas station.
Yeah, I think it was at that time, I'm not exactly sure, but as of late, like, it's measured at like 0.9 miles.
I know, that's a long run.
Granted, your adrenaline's going, but he's also injured. But at the same time, like, when this is going on, it's not like everyone has a cell phone. It's not like everyone, you know, it's not like as quick as you can ask for help or use the phone, or people have phones just all the time. It's not necessarily like that. So I feel like at first it was kind of questionable of like, why did he go
so far
this way? Why did he go so far? Whatever. But it's also 4 o'clock. The only thing that's going to be open is a gas station.
And he probably knew that, you know?
Right. Exactly.
About all the businesses that are around him, and thought that's the only place I think would be open at this point. So he runs there. He does make a point to say, I'm not the only one injured. Please send police and EMS to the address of our home. I don't know what happened to my roommate. I did not see her when I left. I did hear her scream, and I was attacked after that.
Yeah, he basically says they were sleeping, someone broke in, attacked them. He knew it was someone with a knife, obviously, because he had been injured. He said he felt someone stab him right in the chest, and then they hit him in the face. The first thing that he did was get up and run. He said he heard Jonna screaming from her bedroom really loud, but he didn't have time to help her. And then police and paramedics were dispatched at 4:30 a.m. to not only the gas station, but also to the apartment where he believed Jonna could still be there.
Or someone is, you know, someone's still there breaking in or whatever.
Right.
So the police they've gotten Jason, they're transporting him to the hospital, and then they show up at the apartment. And they walk in, and this apartment has...
Can I go over what their initial thoughts of Jason's wounds were first?
Yeah.
Because they don't talk much about it, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. Because I feel like, as the story goes, it was always questioned. But upon, like, getting to the gas station, the EMTs really the way they describe Jason's injuries they are superficial. So as in they can't tell if he got these injuries by actually fighting with someone, or if they are self-inflicted, or if they are defense wounds. Like just they're like, yeah, this seems a little extra, which is interesting to me. I wish we could find more on that, but so he had one stab wound to the chest, one to the arm, and then one injury that was the most significant, and that was the one to his hand, like to his finger. And that wound was very significant, but they could not determine again if it's offensive or a defensive wound.
So they're on his radar. He's on
already.
their radar.
They're already thinking like, yeah, we're not sure about you and about if you were a victim or if you're in fact the perpetrator at this point. Okay.
They they had a hard on for him for sure.
Definitely.
So police get to the apartment and they walk in, and again, this apartment has there's 6 apartments in this one building. And they're all lettered A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or E, F. They were in apartment E, which is upstairs. So you have to like walk in. There's like a main area with steps.
Yeah, like a common area door that everyone has to enter first before they can get to their actual apartment door. Right.
And Jonna is found alive at the bottom of the steps in this entryway area inside the apartment. Before
they can even like get through it, like into it.
Yeah.
She is like right there.
Yes. And it is a horrific scene. Every single door in that complex in that building had her blood on it.
Yeah.
From banging on the door trying to get help.
Yeah.
And out of the 5 other people that were occupying those apartments, there was only one call. And, I felt weird about this because he called and explained everything really well, but he wouldn't go out. And police say she could have been saved if someone would have helped her, or if help would have gotten there sooner. But it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if I heard all this crazy stuff. I don't know if I.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily gonna judge someone based on self-protection. Like, all I know is that if they called, in my opinion, that is doing their duty. Some people will go out and do further action, and that's all great, but I'm not going to judge the person that did actually call, because how many times have we been like, why did no one call? Like, why did no one call? They called, so they did the duty of just being a good civilian.
There were, like I said, blood on all the doors, a huge puddle of blood at the entranceway where she was found. She was still alive, and the police officers asked her, is the person who did this still here? And she couldn't say anything, but they thought she nodded yes.
Yes.
So now they're in, instead of saving her mode, they're into, okay, we got to protect ourselves so that
we got to make sure that if they are still here, we've got them. If they're not still here, we can, just all the different angles they have to go.
So they go upstairs to their apartment, E. They walk in the door, and there's another huge puddle of blood in the living room. Blood, all over, especially in her room.
Everything. They said there was blood everywhere.
Everywhere.
Drops, stains, smears,
puddles.
Just all over this apartment. Everywhere. Not just in the front, not just in the back, not just on the staircase, not just in the bedrooms. Like, they described it as like gruesome and then beyond. Like, it was bad.
Yeah. So she was taken to the same hospital that Jason and Mame was, UTK Trauma Center, where she was pronounced dead. Now, her parents, who are amazing, still doing stuff in her name to this day.
Yep.
They get a call at 5 a.m. and Joan, her mom, just knew something was wrong. The person on the end said, "Hi, can I talk to Mike?" She hands the phone to Mike, and they tell them that their daughter, they need to get to Knoxville because their daughter had died. And they're
I don't think they
freaking
said
out.
she had died yet. I think they said she had been in an accident because then they called the brothers.
Yep. Mom calls the brothers and they're like, she's alone. Can you please go up to the hospital?
We're on our way.
Yeah. And that's a good drive from Atlanta to Knoxville.
It's a solid 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on traffic, but yeah, no, that's...
And it rained all
the whole
day.
way.
The whole way.
And the whole time she's saying, like, please don't let this be, like, my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't let it be my daughter. Mm-hmm. So they're not even sure if it is her, because I think they were also being told, like, we need you to come tell us if this is her. And so they call the brothers, because the brothers live closer. They show up, and they're like, okay, we need you to tell us if this is this person. And they said as soon as they pulled the picture up, the brothers were just like, just lost it. And then the parents show up, I think kind of like right after.
They went outside to get fresh air after hearing this, and they're like consoling each other.
Yeah.
And the parents pull up, and then they knew. Yeah. They knew at that point.
Yeah. Terrible.
It's absolutely terrible. So, what should we get into next?
I think we could go kind of to the initial action as far as like questioning as it pertains to like Jason, the roommate.
Right.
They kind of immediately,
as soon as he's released,
they noticed at the apartment there was no forcible entry sites. Like at any door, there didn't seem to be like signs of a break-in. It was like doors were either left unlocked, or someone who walked through the door had a key, or like there was no damage done.
Right.
So they go, basically as soon as Jason is released from the hospital, which is that same day, they take him into the station for further questioning and for him to give like his official statement.
And get a sketch because he saw the guy.
Yeah. So he tells the story, he woke up at 4 a.m., he heard Jonna, thought she was having a nightmare, all the things we just talked about, and then basically he said that one of the things that stuck out to me was that he says he never saw Jonna, he just heard her screaming, and then he said the man probably entered through the back door. Which at first I was like, that's weird. Like, if you were asleep too, or like, how would you know that? And as they explain it, it does make sense, but still at this point I was like kind of, I was kind of iffy about it. I really did think he
had something to do with it.
Yeah, I did at the beginning. And rightfully so, I think. Yeah. But basically he goes into like normally Jonna would like lock all the doors, whatever, and then I would just, if I came home after her, I would walk in through the door that I walk in through, and then before I go to bed I would make sure all the doors are locked, but that he wasn't sure if she had locked all the doors, and he did not check specifically the back door.
Right.
Because I think in his mind he was just thinking, I didn't come through that door, and Jonna always locks things up, so he just made sure that the front door that he came through was locked.
So he is being questioned by police, and he's giving them, he's taking polygraphs, he's answering questions as best he can.
That was crazy too.
I know. And he gives them a rough sketch, and we'll show you that sketch. But he said the person was about 200 pounds, had blondish brown hair, a square face, and droopy eyes.
Younger too, like possibly in their 20s.
Right.
He said.
Yeah. They give him a polygraph, and they come back and say you failed, and he is like, absolutely not.
He's angry now.
Yeah.
Because I think in his mind he's like, I'm trying to do everything I can to help this, and y'all are focused on the wrong person.
He's the victim, and
yes, and
they're
feeling like a suspect.
Yep, exactly.
And I think too, they were going in really hard on him about thinking and putting kind of like this, which it's not unquestionable, but kind of painting this picture as they live together. There's no way that a girl and a boy, a young woman, a young man can be roommates and just be amicably roommates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had to have, had a crush on her,
Right.
or tried to get something going as a relationship pertains, and she denied him and he got angry. Like, they couldn't let go of that theory.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, my girlfriend is one of her best friends. Like, we are just roommates. We are friends. That is all.
Mm-hmm.
And they just wouldn't let that go for a little bit.
Yeah, and then later came back and was like, oh, oops, the polygraph, you did pass
You did pass the polygraph test, actually. That was
crazy.
weird.
That was weird. I mean, it's a tactic, but...
So, yeah, they ask him to sit with a sketch artist. They get this sketch out, and the investigators release the sketch images and, ask the public for helps, for tips. And then they really start to look into, like, the evidence that the scene provided.
Right. They did check out the boyfriend. He was 600 miles away in Michigan.
Yes, he had a full alibi, the timing, everything about it. It was impossible for him to have done it. And then I think based on questioning and like him he came down obviously immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I think they quickly realized that it was not him, and he did not have anything to do with it.
Right.
Even if he physically wasn't there.
Right.
He had nothing to do with it.
He was completely devastated. He fainted when he heard the news.
Mm-hmm.
His neighbor actually found him passed out, helped him pack the bag, paid for his ticket to go home, and drove him to the airport. Like, that's a good
neighbor. Good job.
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine.
I can't either. So, like we said, there was lots of blood, and it takes a while for, like, DNA testing and all the collection of all the things, and, they finally find that there are 3 specific DNA profiles: Jonna, Jason, and an unknown male.
An unknown male, yep. And then one of the other big things that was really kind of taken right away from the crime scene was there was like a piece of cardboard, maybe, a cardboard box or whatever, that had a footprint on it that was pretty clear. And they're like, okay, solid. Now we can figure out, what size shoe, what type of shoe, whatever. So that was like one of the first pieces of evidence, obviously, besides all the blood they had to test. But that was like you're gonna get those determinations and those results back from a shoe print faster, usually, than you are blood and DNA.
And they actually ran that blood, and no one was in the system. So that just...
It was not a match to anything in CODIS so far. Then also with the blood evidence, like you said earlier, the blood evidence also showed that Jonna did in fact go to every neighbor's door and knock on every neighbor, all other 5 apartments, trying to get help. Could you imagine?
She had to have been literally fighting for her life, using every ounce of energy she had.
Yeah.
There was also some blood dripping down the back stairs, and the police and Jason, they figured that's where the person came in, and the blood was dripping on the right side of the stairs, like going down. Yep. So they thought maybe the person cut their hand. They're right-handed because all the blood's on the right side of the stairwell, and they left out that door.
Yeah, and then there was like evidence on like the doorknob. Just
there was a random hat that wasn't theirs.
Yeah, it wasn't Jason's, wasn't hers. Like just some random hat. There was a lot of evidence in this case, in my opinion, compared to some.
Yeah.
But still, I think all of the unknowns were geared toward like one individual that was not Jason or Jonna, but also did not have a match in the system. So then it's obvious, just detective work and like hoping that the public can help you. I also read something somewhere that like the neighbors could have kind of fell into what the study that was done about the bystander effect. That's like, you're just in so much shock, but you're like, your whole body's telling you like, that's danger, don't go. That's danger, don't go. Which makes a lot of sense to me too.
I think so.
So also at the crime scene, the weapon is found. It's a kitchen knife that is in fact a kitchen knife from Jonna and Jason's kitchen's knife set.
Yeah,
so
their butcher block.
It's not like a weapon that someone brought into it.
Right.
But also when they found it, it was right outside of Jonna's bedroom, and it was almost like completely bent in half, like almost about to break in half, which shows the amount of force that it was used in. Like,
she had, I've heard 20, 22, or 26, somewhere between 20 and 30 stab wounds all over her body. So think about that, you know, with that
and
knife.
a kitchen knife. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would require a lot. And I feel like whoever did do this would have wounds from the knife. Like, once the blood gets everywhere and it gets slippery, you know, you always hear about like your hand sliding down and the knife cutting the hand that is using it as a weapon. Right. But on the knife they found a fingerprint, blood obviously, and hair. That was all on the knife itself.
Right.
Then the back door of the apartment, the trail of blood. And determining that like whoever did this was right-handed based on the evidence, and whatever wound they did have would have been on their right hand, which makes sense.
It does make sense. So 3 years later, in 2007, there was this guy named Taylor Olson who was on probation. He was a pretty normal guy. His family was, you know, they were well off. He had, you know, a young son. He was, from all of his friends and family, cool guy, you know, whatever. He's 22, has a son, works, has been in trouble a little bit, but he gets picked up on a probation violation in 2007, and when he's picked up, he volunteers his DNA. The police ask, can we get a swab of your DNA? He did have, you know, burglary, phone harassment, fraud, forgery, aggravated burglary on his list, so they were able to get that DNA, and as of September of 2007, his fingerprint and DNA was matched back to
the unknown male DNA. I think what kind of gets weird from here is that, well, one, his story, but also the fact that like when he was questioned, they interrogated him for 2 days and he never budged, not once, and then kind of out of nowhere like broke and was like, okay, I did it. Me and my friend, we were in the parking lot of the apartments. We were trying to basically just kind of checking car door handles, cars that we could steal, and after no luck, but also kind of being called out by people that were also in the parking lot, like, hey, what are y'all doing? Because they looked like they were doing something sketchy. He says that his friend like fled the scene, he stayed, and then a little bit later decided he was just going to go check apartment doors, like their back doors, to see if any were unlocked, and go in and try and like find keys, and then just go back out to the parking lot and like figure out, okay, what car, you know, lock the doors, unlock the doors, see which car beeps, type of thing. And basically when he entered that apartment, he didn't find any keys in like the kitchen or living room, like the common area. So he proceeds to go into Jonna's bedroom. He's checking her, he's kind of like going through like her night table, like drawer. And as he's doing that, his story is that I guess she wakes up and all of a sudden he feels a sharp pain in his arm, and he hears a female like scream, like, who are you? And he was like, I had just been stabbed. So then he kind of goes into like protect myself mode, and I guess somehow gets the knife and then attacks her. He also claims he never saw or had any sort of confrontation with Jason, the roommate. He does not remember a second person at all. And basically almost like he got stabbed and he just went into like fight, or like, I've got to fight for myself now, and then ends up leaving the scene or whatever.
Right.
But as we continue to like look into the questioning and his confession and his attitude towards it, his confidence like in his confession, I'm just not so sure that like, don't get me wrong, when you commit something like this, like, yeah, you're a monster. There's no doubt about it. But it's hard for me to think that there wasn't something like mentally, like a episode, or that there weren't some sort of like drugs involved that create like a psychedelic,
or maybe both.
Yeah, or possibly both.
Yeah.
Because he seems, first of all, everything besides his rap sheet, like, and doing a lot of things that are wrong, for the most part, like, he was not known to just be like a monster.
Right.
Like, yeah, he was an idiot and did stuff he shouldn't do, obviously, but like, he had a child.
Yeah, he was.
And in the video, like, he doesn't remember anything.
I know. There's a video of his interrogation where the police let him talk to his mom and his sister. And the mom reminds me of you. Like,
Yeah.
I love you. I'll still come see you. It's okay. He explains it very vaguely to them. Like, I don't remember. I can't believe this is happening. I did it to 2 people. All this stuff.
What is going on? Have they...
I told him everything.
Okay.
What?
What happened, Tay? Did you tell her I love you? Breathe. Just breathe.
I remember being in there.
You remember being in the apartment. In
I
that
remember
apartment by
going in the
yourself.
bedroom, looking just for keys or something.
Right.
And then someone said something, and I was like, relax, whatever. And then it was just like a fight. And
You were
Okay.
like struggling with somebody.
yeah, we were fighting.
But you didn't have a knife. It was... Where did the knife come from?
I don't remember stabbing anybody. 2 people.
Well, then why are you thinking you did it if you don't remember it?
I got my blood's on the knife.
Why-
I wouldn't do this to someone. I don't even know those people.
I know. That's why I'm
When they
hoping...
told me it was my blood, I still just didn't believe it. I just don't understand.
I will never stop loving you. I will never stop coming to see you. I love you so much. I really do. I love you. I love you too. I'll be talking to you, okay?
Okay. Love you.
And there's also there's 2 videos. Oh, there's also a perp walk video
From the media, yeah.
from the media. It's when they take him from like interviewing to like go to the real jail or whatever. And they're like asking, why did you do it? He said it was an accident. And then one of the
I
reporters,
never meant to kill her.
Right. One of the reporters was like, yeah, but you stabbed her more than 20 times, and the look on his face.
Did you mean to kill her? Why'd you do it? An accident? But you stabbed her 26 times.
Yeah, the look on his face was like, 1, that's the first time he'd ever heard that, and 2, was like,
Shocked.
just almost like disbelief, but like disgusted. Like, that there's no way I could have done that. I would not have done. I'm not capable of that. There's
Yeah.
no reason for that. Like, it was weird.
It was weird.
Very weird.
Very weird. But
And just for the record, the autopsy, obviously the manner of death was ruled a homicide, but the cause of death was loss of blood from multiple stab wounds. So it's harsh to say, but like she bled to death. Like that. That would be terrible.
Uh-huh.
She had over 20 stab wounds all over her body, her face, her arms, her midsection, her chest, her back, and multiple defensive wounds too.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
She's fighting.
oh, she fought her butt off.
I know.
I would have I wish they could have gotten Taylor sooner so they could have seen what wounds he had on him, because she
put up a fight for
she's
sure.
tough.
So Taylor Olson gets ready for a trial on March 3rd of 2008. His attorney says that, wait, we need to move it to July. So from March 3rd to March 28th, Taylor is in jail. And on March 28th, 2008, Taylor is found dead in his cell from suicide from bed sheets.
Yeah. So self-inflicted death, obviously suicide.
Left notes.
There was a note found that, basically, I think the main takeaway from it was that he says he did not do this, and that the person who did was one of his friends, that he was with him that night, and his name is Noah Cox.
Noah actually lived across the street from their apartment.
Right. And I think, this is my opinion, that I think Taylor Olson did do it. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure he did it alone. And I'm also not sure of what, like, mental state or even sobriety being in question. Like, just his reactions and things to the case, and like what he remembered and what he didn't remember. Because once he confessed, it's not like he wanted to tell everything he knew. He wanted to get it all out there and pay for what he had done.
Which that made me think he's a good person.
Right. And that there might have been something else going on as far as like his mental state. But like, he didn't come across to me as like just a complete liar and someone that didn't want to avoid consequences or pay for it.
Right.
He always came across to me as like a very distraught, confused person, but not
a killer.
Yeah, and if he was, not afraid to say like, I did something wrong and this was terrible and I will pay for it.
Right.
So when he mentions this person, for me, I was like, I kind of been wondering who helped you do this, because
I don't think he did it by himself.
I don't either.
So this guy's name is Noah Cox. He lived in the apartment across from the victim's apartment. In Taylor's suicide note, he names Noah Cox and says that he has more to do with it than just it was just me.
Right. And then upon, obviously, Taylor Olson's now dead. I will say that I never like when people don't pay for what they did and take that way out. But upon questioning Noah, the one thing that was found at the apartment that really had no answers to was a hat. And when they ask him if he's ever seen this hat, Noah says, like, yeah, that's my hat, but like that night Taylor was wearing it. So it's like, okay, so he's already kind of making up telling something, making up something, or just telling the truth that this hat would possibly have his DNA on it. So he's already putting that out there, like that's a story.
That's
so
the reason.
It could be circumstantial at that point.
But his DNA was never found.
Yeah, there was no DNA evidence on the hat, which I think is also interesting for why he would put the hat at the scene.
Yeah.
And then also, composite sketches are interesting.
They are.
They are great and they're very useful, but also sometimes it gets questioning or a direction pointed in a direction that is kind of like I don't want to say a waste of time, but
yeah.
But I feel like they're ultimately a good thing, and I'm telling y'all, if you look at this sketch and you look at Noah, they are the same person.
I know. The droopy eyes and the light hair. And yeah, we'll put them side by side so you can see it.
Sketches him.
It looks just like him. So weird.
Like, you see it and you look at Taylor Olson and you're like, yeah, that looks similar.
Yeah.
Like, I could see maybe. But then you put Noah and the sketch together.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
In my opinion, yes.
Oh.
So, I am glad to report that any of the other friends that were involved in this, I mean,
Anyone that
Taylor's-
could have ultimately had a hand in this.
yes, Noah especially, they're all in jail as of now. For different crimes. They were never, they were
Sorry.
never charged with the murder or assault of Jonna and Jason. So
No, and that's really kind of the sad part because the family, Jonna's parents and siblings and her fiance, like, they never really got to see justice for
At all.
her. And that's got to be really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, we're going to end this like we usually do, on this is just something that happened to Jonna. This is not who she is. And her family has proceeded to do a lot of work on getting a law named after her and, doing good things for all the people in the community in her name. And that's, in my opinion, that's exactly what she would have wanted them to do.
The TBI in 2009 actually named their DNA lab after Jonna.
Yeah.
So it's the Jonna Berry DNA lab for the TBI.
That's so cool.
I know. And in April of 2015, during Victims' Right Week, Tennessee passes a law that allows photos of victims to be shown before the court just to give people a clear image of the victim.
And what they had to endure.
Right.
And or just to show their personality or expression through
Humanize
who
them.
they are. Right?
Yeah.
Not as just a victim that you never know or see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
And then they also pass a law that says if you are convicted of a crime a felony crime with assault,
Yeah, a violent crime.
then you have to get your DNA swab. So if that would have been in place when Jonna passed, they would have been able to find the guy
Quick.
way quicker
His
than 3 years.
DNA would have been in the system because he had previous charges for things like that.
Yeah.
And then the toy drive.
This is still going on.
Yeah.
They started it in 2004 through 2005, and it's 2023, and it still goes on.
Yep.
Her
So
parents
cool.
are so cool. I love them.
Yeah.
They love their daughter so much that every year they do a toy drive, and on the day she passed, because that's what she was doing.
She had bought Christmas presents for the kids that she worked with.
Yeah,
At
underprivileged
the
kids.
child's study center.
Yeah.
Like, she was buying them gifts.
So they wanted to just do that in
Continue
her
that.
memory
Yeah.
and turn that day into something more positive.
Yeah. Who she was.
Yeah.
Not what happened to her.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
I
And
know.
we'll put links to all
Yes.
these things so that hopefully if you're able to, you can support them as well. And obviously just keep thinking about her family and everyone involved in this because they don't necessarily have a chance at really seeing justice be served, but I think that by the good they're doing in her name and what she really is probably enjoying watching them happen, like, and do all these things for people and kids, hopefully just keep them in your thoughts so that they can heal and have a healthy journey with this.
And support them if you can,
Yeah.
They're just an hour and a half, 2 hours away from
Yeah.
here. Maybe Christmas
Maybe
time.
we got to do a toy
Be
drive.
going to Knoxville. All right, like, follow, share, subscribe. You can get early access to our episodes on YouTube. We come out every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, earlier on YouTube. So if you subscribe to our channel, you'll be able to get access to everything a little bit earlier.
Yep, and of course, if you listen to any of our episodes and you have information or tips or anything that you feel like we should hear about, please send it to us, message on social media or email. We love to hear from you, and constructive criticism.
Yes,
don't be an asshole. All right,
This is the Expired Podcast.
bye guys.
Find links to the Jonna Berry Foundation in the description box below. Thanks for listening to the Expired Podcast. Follow along Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and wherever you download podcasts. We're the Expired Podcast.